We are currently living in a golden time of throwback shooters. But it wasn't always the case. Before indie studios decided to invest in these properties and start bringing them out en masse, there was a little reboot called Shadow Warrior. Shadow Warrior 2013 was a moderately famous remake of a build engine game, one that was a bit overshadowed by its brethren, Duke 3D and Blood. I remember enjoying it back in the day. But then over the years, Duke and Blood just stuck out with me more. And I also feel a little bit better to play if I have to be honest. I never liked Shadow Warrior's shotgun, it just feels off. It also can't be ignored that the game has some problematic content.
Row your boat gently down to the stream. Whoa, I think my dinghy hanging out.
Some things just don't age well.
Whoops, low wang drop soap. You bend over, get it.
And then we got Shadow Warrior from Flying Hog Games. It was a hit, and met with really good reviews. It was part of the early vanguard of revival shooters and remakes that would be so loved in the incoming years. Wasn't the first though, that honor went to Rise of the Triad. Look at you see. I enjoyed it a lot, combat was fast, melee felt satisfying, and there was more depth to the story than I expected. Would still recommend you check it out. I even put it on my Steam curator page to display in all its glory. Link below.
Watch out, this'll go boom!
3 years later, we got Shadow Warrior 2, and it's something. There was some hype around the game. It looked fantastic, the same fast-paced combat, but just with a little bit more. More weapons, more enemies, and more problems. Game starts off with a wonderfully cheesy intro and the story setup, while the audience is once again serenaded by the wonderful, amazing Stan Bush, which I can't play here, so have this instead. Controls feel fluid and slightly better than the original. Dashes no longer use stamina, and you can even run for longer than 5 seconds. These are all big improvements in terms of making the combat faster. 2016 seemed to be the year of the double jump. Shadow Warrior also incorporates it, but adds an air dash, much like Doom Eternal did later. Last new change, no fall damage, which is fantastic since the first game had small drops able to kill you for no reason. So far so good, everything checks out. Fuck. What? The hell is this? Numbers and health bars with names attached. I don't feel good. Well, combat is still solid, hits connect well and have good blood and gore flying around. Swordplay is as fluid as the original, and the unlimited dashing makes it feel a bit more chaotic since you can zip around forever. You start off with the katana, pistol and machine gun. Unlike the first game, the pistol feels more accurate. Slightly. I couldn't get any use out of it in the first game, even with the aim down sights. These numbers though. I can feel what's coming. I knew it the first time I played, and now you're stuck here with me having to go through it once again. It's like an endless circle. In 2014, a little game called Destiny came out, and it was a big hit, even though the player base always seems on the verge of burning down the development house. But before that, there was Borderlands 2. This was also a massive success. And the first-person RPG elements were becoming more popular in video games, to the point where Flying Wild Hogs clearly wanted a piece of that. And there's nothing wrong with changing with the times, upgrading some things, maybe following along from your contemporaries. It just seems strange going in this direction for a sequel to a game that was very much a throwback to older FPSs. The first game had some RPG elements, using money to upgrade the guns, karma for new abilities, and key crystals for stat boosts. It was a simple system. It made sure you couldn't hit a brick wall by choosing the wrong upgrades. Keeping it simple meant you started feeling more powerful over time, and on the right difficulty, it grew with your skill set. It was balanced. Except for the spin slice. That move just murdered. So the first boss isn't very difficult, and... okay, this is a bit annoying. Hopefully this never shows up again. The opening section was pretty fun and showcased the improved visuals and more fluid combat. Seems to be on mostly good footing. How do you screw that up? I at first assumed this was going to be the hub area, since this game wants to be Borderlands. And that has a hub area, but not quite. There's nothing to do here, so I just ran around flipping off NPCs who never react and... yeah. You barge in to see two characters we've never met telling you to rescue a girl named Kamiko. Get used to this, since the story never provides much context and you're just along for the ride.
If she dies, they'll be picking your fingertips out of my gardens for weeks.
Lady sure knows how to motivate her workforce.
Intimidation is the tool of the fearful heart.
Hey, beats being the fool of the tearful fart.
That's deeply stupid.
But it's true.
Fair enough.
Okay, I'll give you this one. You do get a shotgun for your troubles, which you want to keep on to. It's one of the best early weapons in the game. The next area is... what? Why is this future city here? It's a bad sign when 20 minutes in I'm lost on the plot of a Shadow Warrior game. So I went to the only known reliable resource I could find, Wikipedia, and I found out that the events take place 5 years after the last one. Must have had one hell of a contracting budget. Combat's still good, except those little drones are hard to hit and never stop being a problem later in the game. Too much zipping around. The shotgun does good damage and knocks enemies on their asses quick, but they seem a bit spongy. One big positive change from the first game is areas are more open and allow for better movement options. Playing around with elevation becomes part of the fights. I feel myself adjusting to the flow and enjoying the ride going forward. Oh, come on! Another boss summoning minions? I didn't even know this was a boss! So technically these aren't bosses, they're just elites. But with combat this fast, I can't be expected to read these names up top while also dodging around. But you sort of have to because it showcases their strengths and weaknesses. But screw that, just spam the spin and win again. You save Kamiko. Quest ends with her soul being transferred into your body in order to recreate the successful two-character setup from the first game, except much worse.
I lost my job, and then my boss tried to kill me, and now I'm stuck inside the head of some wannabe ninja!
She's great. How long do we have to do this for?
There's still 10 hours of this game left. You arrive at the hub area, finally, which is relatively large and very detailed. You can buy guns, skills, accept quests, and just hang around, I guess. The layout is nice, but there's a lack of things to do here, besides going to the vendors. You'll run into people who just say nothing.
This Christmas, say it with lead shot.
Also, the gun vendor is a demon? I don't completely comprehend this world. He's one of 2 vendors that sell weapons, upgrades, and abilities. Why there are 2 of them, I don't know. You can choose to either do the main quest, a line of side quests, or bounties. Bounties are the most pointless aspect of this game. There are rewards for completing them, sure, but it is so boring. I only attempted 2, which involved hunting down the super rabbits, which took so long I blanked out completely. And then I tried one more, hunting down rats. Yes, rats. We only play the hits here, which was also such a confusing experience, thanks to the minimap, that the rats kept respawning, but it wasn't even the ones the game set out for me to kill, so they didn't count. This is padding of another level, and look at how many bounties there are by the end of the game. This is about 5 hours of content that I could not be forced to go through. And here's the real kicker. The main and side missions don't fare much better. They mostly range from collect X number of objects, go to place, talk to person.
Hand over the cash, or we cave in your fucking skull.
I should warn you, this is a terrible idea.
Fuck you!
And kill Y number of enemies. Variety is broken up with boss battles, but there are so few. Now I know you're going down to the comments and the first thing you're about to say is, Shadow Warrior 1 was a pretty repetitive game too. I'll get to that, don't worry. You get your first main quest from Master Smith. Collect materials to help Kamiko heal her body. Very similar to one of the side quests I just got where I had to go collect things as well. Good job, game. So the level starts with you killing a certain amount of enemies tied to a box that holds the materials. Another tactic the game uses a lot. Kill X number of enemies to unlock box. Expect to repeat this multiple times. This is where you start to realize enemies are just tanking your hits. The shotgun takes multiple, and I mean multiple shots, to take down one monster. Get used to relying on Vanish to deal more damage. It's a real lifesaver of an ability, especially when combined with the spin for taking out crowds. Only the killer bunnies and real bosses can see you when you turn invisible. You get other abilities later on, but I barely use them. I stuck to the one tactic and won all my fights. If I can give a small tip for the beginning, just run past enemies. Makes the levels feel less like they take a lifetime. You'll fight more than enough just by doing that to level up. So don't worry about it. Run through. You finish the quest and go back to town, talk to Master Smith. Oh my god, my eyes! You might have noticed that after an hour your weapon slots are already filled. And if you didn't, the hell have you been doing? So in wanting to be like Borderlands, Shadow Warrior 2 eschews balancing for more weapons, and it doesn't work for a few reasons. Let's talk about the first game. Shadow Warrior had a pretty well-rounded combat system. The weapons were given over a good length, so you could get used to them and see how they work on enemies. Certain weapons were just better suited for the job than others. The bowgun was great at taking out trolls wielding shields, or dealing high damage to bigger foes like warlords or a shaman. The machine gun was good for crowd control, or removing ranged units from a distance, and the sword itself had a good ranged ability and spin for taking out mobs of smaller enemies. Finally, the pistol, which was useless because I could never hit anything with it. Upgrades made them more dangerous and added extra attacks like allowing the flamethrower to throw giant fireballs, or making the shotgun actually useful. In the spirit of the original, I'm not a fan. Before it becomes a double shotgun, it's kinda weak. All of these make a fun, balanced experience, where the challenge is less about throwing as much stuff as humanly possible at the enemies in a lump, hoping their numbers go down, and more about prioritizing who to kill with which weapon in order to survive the round. It's a system that rewards skill growth, along with giving the player new toys to play with over time. Shadow Warrior 2 does not follow suit, and instead of providing an upgraded experience, it floods the game with useless weaponry. We're talking over 70 weapons here. From multiple different melee weapons, machine guns, laser shotguns, and don't even get me started on the absurd amount of rocket launchers. These should be awesome weapons of death, but instead we get little puffs of damage. Some of them look really cool. Mr. Skullgun and I have become quite close friends.
Do you feel lucky, asshole?
But it all feels a little out of place. They tried to imitate Borderlands here, but they never committed. And in trying, they lost some of what made the first game great. And instead we get this half mishmash, where they also didn't completely understand what made Borderlands so good. Borderlands is essentially a stat-based shooter. There are multiple classes and different playstyles, each better at wielding different weapons. Skill points are used to increase the effectiveness of the arsenal and help with creating a build that suits your style. But in Shadow Warrior 2, there are no classes. It's a bit open form, yes, but you are still low Wang, and you all have the same abilities. You can use everything, but because there are so many given to you over such a short time, you don't. You end up picking up a new gun, looking at it, being, nah, and then moving on. I worked with a trio of weapons: shotgun, pistol, and a melee for crowd control. I deviated a little sometimes, but the strategy stayed the same. I never cared much about elemental damage either, since it seemed to not do any extra damage and felt needless. It's also a case of not being able to read the names up top so quickly. There is no right weapon for the right moment. Instead, you can just keep spamming so the numbers go down. And if things get tough, vanish and go heal. It might be the coward's way, but it's very effective. Along with the weapons, there are also upgrade gems, and they don't provide as much depth as I think the devs believe they would. I worked with a system of numbers go up, gun gets better. I beat the game on hard mode, so I must have been right. The game dropped so many of them in a level that you would have to check your inventory every 5 minutes. And that places an emphasis on one of the worst elements of a looter shooter. It's an added layer that really did not need to be implemented. But here we are, stuck with it. Also, you can pick up a nice bouquet of golden penises. Perfect gift for grandma. Back to Future City. Some positives I can say about the game, as it does look beautiful. If it wasn't for the levels just being littered with enemies or me having to replay them over and over, it would be inspiring. I also tried out the double barrel, but it's not very powerful for the fire, and it became a disappointment. This level showcased it even more how repetitive it can be fighting mobs. I only kept doing it in the first few, because I was scared of being under-leveled. Turns out I didn't need to worry about that at all, because I became a badass. Finally reached Kameko's room after fighting for half an hour, and it turns out she was lying to just get tea. But how are you gonna drink it?
It's one of the perks.
You don't even have a body.
Can you put the kettle on?
Look, I don't think we have time for that. Where are your notes?
If I tell you, will you make me a cup of tea?
No! I'm tired of this shit. I'm not your personal valet. Now where are your stupid notes?
Let's talk about Kamiko for a bit. She's the worst. Combative, angry, loud, sarcastic, and just overall a nightmare to be around. And we're stuck with her.
I don't think I'll ever get used to cheat tech.
Let me guess. In your day, you had to walk 20 miles to school in the snow, and candy bars cost a nickel.
It's not just her. Our protagonist is just as bad, constantly making jokes regardless of the scene and emotions it's trying to convey. It's exhausting being around these two, like hanging out with old friends that hate each other but keep showing up at your house. The ones you don't tell about the move because they might want to help, and I definitely don't want to be in a situation where they both fucking argue over who is taking the couch. And 3 hours later, it's still in the lounge and now they want to order pizza. You know what? I can't have pizza, Brenda. The dough fucks up my stomach, and can we just move the couch? I know we're tired, but yeah. This is somewhat in contrast to the relationship between Hoji and Wang.
Before we do this, I need to know your name.
Oh, that's sweet.
If you know a demon's name, you can control it.
Is that so?
That's what all the books say.
There's just one problem. It is written that no human tongue can pronounce a demon's name.
Try me.
All right. My name is Hoji.
Hoji.
But it's impossible. How did... You must be the one that the prophecy spoke of.
Really? What else does the prophecy say?
Why, that the one will also believe any goddamn idiot thing you make up on the spot.
Get out of my car.
Sure, it started off combative and a few scenes fell flat, but you watched them grow from an uneasy alliance to some mutual respect over the course of the game, ending in a tragedy for Hoji. But in this case, the combativeness just continues until the very last scene.
You been there before?
This is my old stomping ground, sweetie. Oh crap, that sounded like you, didn't it?
It kinda did. Never do that again.
I promise.
The fact is, Lo Wang is an asshole. A bit of a problematic portrayal, yes, again with the voice actor, but he is essentially a dangerous nerd. He had other emotions other than being a dick, like angry, happy, actual jokes.
Please explode, please explode, please explode, please explode. Come on. Ha! Cowabunga, asshole!
There was a backstory to the events, and it had a certain poetry to it. The machinations of the demon world were both beautiful and tragic. We kept learning more as we sliced up bird people. This game has none of that. Just dick jokes and double crosses. Multiple double crosses. And I don't even want to count how many dick jokes. Like, my god. Talking to characters is also exhausting, because it's just constant sarcasm and edgy bullshit. It's like talking to a 12-year-old. If I wasn't capturing footage for the game, I would have been skipping these all the time. Sure, no one really asks for much of a story in an FPS like this. But then we go back to the first game, where we got what we didn't expect, and it was wonderful. So you meet up with Zing, a character from the last game who was also a head, that got an upgrade into a flying head, that tells you hit 3 journals around the map. So more fighting. We need to talk about this game being blindingly bright. Specifically Future City. It's a real issue for combat. Sometimes you'll get into these little light pole things and you can't see anything. And if an enemy is in these, they're gone. They've turned invisible. I don't know where they went. So you run around, kill a bunch of enemies multiple times, rinse, repeat, get the diaries and leave. That's that level. We'll be back. Don't worry. We get a quest to stop some Black Rain siege. Shit. I realized I never explained much of the plot. Okay, sit down, let me tell you. So during the last game, Lo Wang fucked up and caused the collision after fighting Mezu in his metal Pegasus armor. Which is why demons are around and Black Rain is just stuff that comes out of the ground. I lost interest in the story around 2 hours ago, and can you blame me if this is the stuff I have to listen to?
Who's Mezu?
Oh, just a god whose ass I kicked. No big deal.
Ooh, do I get to hear another story about how awesome you are? Oh please, oh please, oh please.
You know what? I'm not gonna tell you. I don't think you'd appreciate it.
Aw, darn.
You find out you're near the gates of the demon world and you meet Mezu again, who looks different. Nice suit. He's still guarding a gate after the collision. You fight a new enemy that design-wise is interesting, but goes down pretty quick with the pistol. The quest is done, without much of a hitch, so we go back to town. Uh-oh. Seems we have the classic run back to town before everyone gets murdered. With the way things have been going, I appreciate some shake-up. We fight new enemies and I get used to my sweet steampunk rifle. The whole ordeal takes a while. These damn drones. But you finally reach the town and find Smith dying. It's one of the few scenes evoking strong emotion as we lose a character that Wangs saw as a mentor and friend. We all take a moment to honor his sacrifice. Holy shit, look at the sweet Skeletor gun. This is awesome. And here we have our first proper boss battle. It's pretty decent. Her hitboxes aren't too big, so you actually have to aim. There's a lot of varied attacks that require you to properly implement your dodge and constantly be on the move in the arena. I have to concentrate and remain awake for this one. You take her down and Kamiko in your head starts yelling again. And all the joy has been sapped from the experience.
Idiot! You let me get away!
Easy with the insults, lady. Let's not forget who's driving this bus.
Oh, believe me, I remember.
Okay, so let's just...
An idiot!
The developers really wanted you to hate her. You get a message from a demon character called Amiona to go talk to her, and it took me far too long to realize that she was from the first game, and the person the whole plot revolved around, because I don't remember names.
Hello, Wang. It's been too long.
Freak show.
She tells you that she can help you by joining Kamiko back to her body, but needs some things from you, so more fetching stuff. We just did this a few hours ago. Oh no, I'm falling asleep again. So I'm going to sidetrack a little bit and talk about this porn tape quest, because it's something. Ozu, check last game, asks you to find a videographer that recorded Amiona taking a bath, and get the tape back. While being really creepy, why is he moving like that? They clearly still have Quaaludes in the demon world. Can you please stop moving so much? So you find a guy and confront him, but he escapes in the dumbest way I've ever seen in a game.
You got some pictures you weren't supposed to get.
I'm practicing my art.
Oh, that's a good one. Hand them over, Picasso.
Fuck you!
What the little...
With a Vespa. Next step, you have to find all the tapes he made and buy them, but in order to do that, you have to do a side quest for a side quest. And this is just starting to hurt my head. This is a good time to talk about the open level design and why this sucks for combat. So you're there fighting a pot of enemies, and something seems off. New ones keep appearing out of nowhere. You turn around, and there are even more. It turns out that in a game that emphasizes movement in a large open area, tends to cause enemies to become aggroed a lot. Meaning a battle with only 5 Yakuza suddenly turns into a massive drawn-out brawl between you and 20 other enemies. It's an experience that never ends and just further causes my brain to fall asleep. So you get all the tapes, but that's not the end. There are even more tapes in Future City, and big spoiler, are you sitting down for this? No really, grab a chair and take a seat. I don't want you fainting on me. So it turns out, Amiona planned this herself. Shocking, I know. Why is this quest here? This is later used as evidence of her turning insane. A sex tape. So you blow up some machines, bang bang bang, and a boom for the band, and it's done. Don't we all feel better? Essentially, this is how all the side quest lines go. They come in sets of 3 to tell one short story. Rarely do they add anything. For example, an earlier quest where you need to fix the Nobutsare Kage ends with you getting a weapon upgrade piece. Not the actual sword, just an upgrade piece.
You ruined it even more!
Under the circumstances, it was the best I could do. This sword will never enjoy its former glory. But now, you can put it to work inside another sword.
Well...
And nothing was learned that day. We go back to that first level, the Yakuza stronghold, and in an unexpected twist, it's a lot of fun. You're fighting all of Mamushi's henchmen. They don't tank as many hits, which makes the combat flow better and gives the sights of a better game. It's a bloodbath as I take them out. The inside of the building takes a little longer as stronger boss enemies show up. Overall, it's a very good experience. This level does showcase the weird decision for enemy design. When it comes to showing what element they deal damage with, you have green Yakuza and ones that are on fire, that I definitely didn't like. It's the small details that make me laugh. I got lost for a bit. The minimap was lying about where to go and it took too long to finish the level, but we got the ceremonial knife we needed, and watched Kamiko's grandmother kill herself in a very uncomfortable scene. There would almost be drama here if it wasn't for Wang. That wasn't an innuendo. So we give the sword to Amiona and she tells us we need to come back later. So let's waste some time. If you go upstairs to Wang's bedroom, you can get a Christmas side quest from this Duke Nukem snow globe. Christmas levels never fail to disappoint. Hell, Saints Row 4 had a whole DLC for it. Wait, it's the same shit again. It's just Christmas themed, but it's the same. You added snow and put a hat on an enemy from the first game, but that's it? Okay, after this I need a break. Go back in time to something a little more memorable, play some of the previous game, and I can feel calm fall over me as I have fun fighting enemy after enemy. But all good things must end. We continue looking for Kamiko's father and find out that it's Mezu. This honestly caught me off guard. Not really. And then a bunch of really forced and awkward jokes that I will not go into happen. Amiona finally betrays you, as she wants to inhabit Kamiko's body, and it's a whole thing about destroying the world in Sephiroth. And Sephiroth is... goddammit.
Frustration is just the universe tickling your belly.
I didn't get the hand.
You are alive, though. Where there is breath, there is hope.
Where there is breath, there are bullshit feel-good platitudes.
So after the whole betrayal, it's set up that you're gonna fight Gozu because he sort of lightly pushes you forward, but he never shows up again. Which is really odd because you fought him in the first game. After you beat a bunch of these weird ladies and friends, you get a throwback to OG and probably the only good scene in this game.
What?
Listen.
What am I listening to?
The sound of gullibility.
And you get a sword, which looks a little odd, but it's used to open shields that you find around the area. Say goodbye to this mechanic, it never comes back again. Here we go, we're starting to near the end, try to keep up with me. And we have another boss fight. Same as the first time, just a little bit more difficult. She summons these tentacles that can knock you around a bit. Focus on her, take out the tentacles if you can, and just keep blasting, and she should go down without a problem. It won't be the last time we fight her as well. Hell, not even the last time we fight her in this exact location. So I played around for a bit, tried out the trials, and oh boy, was I not in the mood for this extended war of attrition. You get gems so you can upgrade your weapons, but just look at the jump in price. It's ridiculous. How much grinding will I need to do in order to max out a weapon? Pass. We are currently reaching critical point. The last side quest, I swear. There's 3 of them because terrible things always come in free, except for the twins. But they're from the first game and I have no idea what this design is. Are those metallic pasties? You know what, screw it. I'm not talking about this quest. It ends with a boss fight that's a long drawn out battle anyway, so moving on. We're almost done.
Shit, you said it was clean, Wang. This is
Damn.
We gotta talk to Zing and get a plot synopsis from the first game, what caused Amiona to go insane. But instead of the wonderful cutscene from then, all we get is Zing talking. It's another downgrade, and I feel myself falling asleep. Oh shit, we're in the middle of a boss fight. But no worries, I have the Spring Chester.
Cynicism is the refuge of the morally bankrupt. If you had a single ounce of integrity in your bones.
Oh, there are my 2 little lovebirds.
Amiona.
Amiona steals the body, but not before roasting Wang and Zilla with a joke that has never been heard before. And that marks the cue to end this game. The sigh of relief escaping my body could be heard all over the world. So here we go, final boss battle. It's another repeat of fighting Kamiko's body, this time possessed by Amiona, and there's a kick-ass 80s tune playing in the background to hype you up, and the battle has some legs. There's just one problem. And that problem is called the Spring Chester. And we're done. I can leave now. So we kill Amiona, relieving her of the pain and torment she has suffered, finally giving her the peace she's wanted.
Kill her, now, before my father can doom her and trap me.
Wait, did he just stab her in the leg? What? How does that kill her?
Thank you, Lo Wang. You've been a good friend to me, and a worthy partner.
Give him hell, okay?
You can rely on it.
What game have I been playing? What the hell are you talking about? When did they become friends? I need to go take an anger nap. And that's Shadow Warrior 2. We did it. But I don't feel like I accomplished anything. The game just didn't work for me. The devs knew what they were making. It definitely feels like a game given artificial limbs when the skeleton alone was worth it. I actually don't know what that means. If you've made it this far, I have a surprise for you. This game sold quadruple compared to the first one, and it holds a higher Metacritic score. In my mind, I only imagine that Looter Shooter Fever was at a pitch that year, and no one played more than 2 hours total. Because no one remembers this game. It is one of the most forgettable first-person shooters I've ever played. Even though it has all these weapons, it has fantastic combat. You fight the same enemies over and over again. There's not much variety in them. And after this video, I will most likely forget everything that happened.
Cynicism is the refuge of the morally bankrupt.